Welcome to phase 2 of the Financial Planning Challenge. I'm pleased to introduce Texas Tech University, Valerie Carpenter, Laura Werner, and Ansley Brister. I'm Kyle Jordan from Financial Planning Association, and we have Dr. Mary Kay Swedberg from CFP Board. Our judges are Kim Hayes from the CFP Board, Jenny Baker from FPA Dallas-Fort Worth Chapter, and David Bresler from Ameriprise Financial. Team, are you ready to begin?
Yes. Good afternoon, Krista and Nick. Thank you so much for joining us on Zoom. How are y'all doing today? Awesome. How's the baby? Oh, Emma, that's such a beautiful name. And I'm happy to hear you got the flowers.
We knew Krista's favorite flowers were lilies.
Well, we're so happy to sit down with you today and discuss some of your goals. Before we get into it, do you have anything to update us on since our last meeting? Oh, congratulations! Hitting 1 million subscribers for your Baby on Board blog is such a huge milestone.
That is no surprise with Emma being the face of your new mommy blog.
Yeah, that is so good to hear. Well, let's go ahead and get started. We have a lot to cover today. So in this meeting, we really wanted to prioritize your primary concerns as our client.
Krista, we understand your biggest worry was the future and stability of your influencing business. So that's our first topic for the discussion today.
And Nick, we know that portfolio diversification, as well as the new stock options offered by your company, are of importance to you. So we're going to touch on that as well.
And our final topic we'll be talking about today will be retirement planning, where we'll go over Krista's retirement account options and the possibility of early retirement. Do you have any questions before we get started? All right, then I'll pass it over to Laura with business planning.
So Krista, I just want to congratulate you once again on your subscriber accomplishment. That is amazing. So when it comes to establishing your LLC for your Baby on Board Mommy blog, there are many different benefits that will affect your family. One of those is going to be that you're going to see a separation of your business assets and your personal assets. So this can be beneficial if something were to happen throughout your career and someone was to file a lawsuit. They would not be able to go after the remainder of your assets. So they wouldn't be able to go after your retirement accounts or your personal bank account or anything like that. I wanted to remind you that there is that $50 filing fee. Do you have any questions so far? Great. So as of our last meeting, you had finished the first 2 steps of the process. I want to check in and ask, how is the process of filing the articles of organization going? Oh, perfect. So you're waiting on those to be processed. It can actually take up to 30 days for that processing to be finalized. So the next step in the process is going to be completing a publication requirement. However, there is an exception that will apply to your situation, Krista. With your primary business address, which is also your home address, being located in Maricopa County, you're actually not required to post the notice of your LLC formation. So the next step we're going to discuss will be to create an operating agreement. This will actually be a legal document that's going to outline the ownership specifics and operating procedures in legal language. Because this is a legal document and can become complicated very quickly, we're actually going to recommend a business attorney who specializes in Arizona law. I'll make sure to include our preferred contact in our follow-up email later today. So as I mentioned, there were a couple different benefits with the establishment of your LLC. You'll also see a benefit when it comes to your family's taxes. So we've been able to bring in your CPA today to discuss some of those benefits. Is it okay if I bring him into our session? Great. I'll go ahead and admit Steve to the call.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Krista and Nick, your financial planning team let me know you wanted to discuss some of the tax benefits that will impact your family once Krista has formally established her LLC. One of the biggest advantages of establishing an LLC is you can avoid double taxation. As a flow-through entity, the revenue Krista's Baby on Board business produces will be recognized as her personal income. As a result, aside from a few additional tax forms, the LLC will not change the family's tax bracket or marginal tax rate. You will report all the income you receive from Baby on Board on tax form Schedule C. Keeping track of business expenses, you'll be able to deduct business-related costs such as travel, hotel, and giveaway items. With an LLC, you'll also pay both employer and employee FICA taxes. This should be an easy transition since you've already been practicing this as a self-employed individual. Do you have any questions or concerns today? No? That's wonderful. Well, thank you for your time today, and I'll pass it back to your financial planners.
Thanks,
Thank
Steve.
you, Steve.
So feel free to follow up with Steve if you have any questions regarding the taxation of your LLC. So another thing I want to discuss today is protections that you can purchase for the sake of your influencing business. Although this will not be something you need on a daily basis, it can provide a huge benefit in the event of some sort of incident. So you can actually think of these protections as preparing for a rainy day. Yeah, it's not going to rain every day, but it does make the rainy days much easier. So the first insurance we're going to recommend is general liability insurance. This is going to be about $30 a month, and it's going to be a much more broad area of coverage compared to the second type of insurance we'll recommend. So it's going to cover things such as potential lawsuits, libel and slander, and false advertising. So when it comes to libel and slander, you can think of it as if you were to write or speak something that was false and damage another company's reputation, that this protection would actually kick in. So if you're highlighting a product such as Huggies and representing them poorly, potentially that company could take action. So we're also going to recommend errors and omissions insurance. This is going to be about $85 a month and cover things such as misspeaking on your social media platforms and misrepresentation. So this can be super beneficial just in today's society and it being 2021. The way you perceive or portray something as an influencer and the way someone perceives it may often be very different. Do you have any questions about these types of insurance so far? Great. So when looking to purchase both types of insurance, there are a couple options you do have. We do have a member on our team who specializes in business insurance who would be more than willing to join in on a future meeting or set up a separate time with you. You also have the option to reach out to your current insurance agent and discuss these options with them as well. Because you're still in the process of establishing your LLC for Baby on Board, you do have some time to think about it. Ideally, we like to complete this process, both purchasing the insurance and finishing the establishment of your LLC by the end of the year, so your family can start receiving these benefits. Do you have any questions about what we covered so far today? Great. So with that, I'll actually pass it on to Valerie with investment management.
Hey, Nick and Krista, I know that you guys wanted to talk about investment management, so that's what we're going to get into now. So as you all know from our onboarding meeting, here at Yellow House Financial, our investment philosophy is that of not trying to time or beat the market because we don't think it's something that's possible. In the financial planning industry, there's this quote that goes around, and it goes like this. There's two types of investors, those who don't know where the market is headed and those who don't know that they don't know. And basically what this means is that no one knows where the market's headed, which asset is going to perform better or worse than they did previously or than any other asset. So we don't build our portfolios around trying to time anything. As you can see in this graphic, there's no asset class that's consistently a top or bottom performer. For example, follow the purple squares throughout the years in the graphic that represent emerging markets. In 2007, it returned 39.8%. And then the immediate next year in 2008, it lost 53.2%. So had this 2007 high performance led you to reinvest your entire portfolio in emerging markets, you would have lost over half your portfolio's value. So because we cannot guess where assets are going to go year to year or their performance, investing across multiple asset classes eliminates this risk of one asset plummeting and then your entire portfolio plummeting. I know it may seem scary, but diversification is truly the key to success here. By having investments in various asset classes, we're increasing the likelihood of one asset overperforming while another underperforms, and then on average, we're earning reasonable returns. One thing that we did notice with your current portfolio is its high concentration in Tesla stock. Being overly invested in one company can really overexpose your portfolio to risk, and it can be dangerous to have the entirety of your goal completion based on consistent growth or success of just one company. So we're going to try to avoid that going forward by broadening our investments across multiple asset classes. What was that, Nick? We've been getting that question about Bitcoin so much lately. Because Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency is highly volatile assets and the SEC has not yet approved a Bitcoin ETF in the US, we do not currently include crypto in our managed accounts. However, with that being said, many of our clients have smaller fund accounts completely unassociated with their goals and unmanaged by us, in which cryptocurrency as well as other popular individual stocks are bought and sold. And instead of viewing this account as an investment for future goals, we just view it as investing in a hobby and letting you try your hand at gambling. As you can see on this graphic, we have your current portfolio represented on the left and our proposed portfolio for you represented on the right. As you can see on the left, you have a high concentration in large cap growth stocks, and that's due to Tesla's large presence in your portfolio. On the portfolio on the right, which is our recommended portfolio, you can see that that large cap growth chunk of the pie is a lot smaller. We're going to vary investments across multiple asset classes, like we said before, in order to reduce that risk. As we saw in the graphic in the previous slide, performance of each asset class is so varied and so unpredictable. And because of this, our truly best chance at maximizing gains and minimizing losses is through diversification. We know that the transition into these asset classes would be really drastic and have massive tax implications if we tried to do it all at once. So when we go forward and do this, we'll be sure to reallocate over time and help minimize the tax impact. Nick, you have mentioned that a big part of your compensation structure as a new executive at OnCorp is through equity within your company. This is so exciting and so often overlooked in value. We know you're concerned about all these options that you have, and we hope to alleviate any stress you may be feeling within this meeting. You mentioned that you're going to be receiving both non-qualified stock options and restricted stock units as part of your compensation. Here at Yellow House Financial, we suggest selling company stock as soon as possible in order to avoid unnecessary risk in company performance. Our philosophy behind this is essentially that as an employee, you're already exposed to company risk within your employment itself, and it can be really risky to be doubly exposed to the same risk in your investment portfolio. So just like we mentioned with the Tesla stock, we want to avoid being overly concentrated in just one asset in the portfolio. So therefore, as soon as your stock options and your restricted stock units vest, we advise purchasing and then selling them. And instead of treating that company equity as an investment, we're going to use that profit as regular cash flow and use it to help meet those previously enumerated goals that you have. Nick, do you have any questions regarding the equity compensation or anything else I covered throughout this section? No? All right, then we'll hand it over to Ansley and she's going to talk about retirement planning.
Hey, Krista and Nick. So Krista, I did want to let you know, I did get your email last night wanting to know more about your retirement account options. So I went ahead and added a slide this morning differentiating your retirement account options as a self-employed individual so you can really drill down on a decision regarding which one you want to choose. So here we have a Venn diagram separating a SEP IRA and a solo 401k, your retirement account options. So essentially, these are both qualified accounts, which means that you contribute money pre-tax and then it grows tax-free. And then once you withdraw in retirement, that's when you pay taxes on it. So for your personal situation, there are really two primary differences between a SEP and a solo 401k. For a SEP IRA, you can contribute 20% of your net income, and for a solo 401k, you can contribute 25% of your adjusted gross income. Now, I'm sure you noticed both of these numbers are capped at $58,000. And with the success of the Baby on Board blog, we actually anticipate your income going above the limit, so you would hit this $58,000 cap. So even though this is a difference, it really doesn't apply to your situation. What it really boils down to is whether or not you plan to hire full-time employees in the future. So for a SEP IRA, it's very easy to add on full-time employees to the plan. With a solo 401k, you are the only person that's eligible to participate in the plan. So if you do want to hire full-time employees, the SEP IRA is the route to take. Could you foresee yourself hiring full-time employees in the future? Oh, that makes a lot of sense. With the success that the Baby on Board blog has really experienced, it totally makes sense that you would want to have additional help moving forward. So I want to remind you of the deadline for the SEP IRA to set that up. It's October 15th, and we'll be sure to send you the filing paperwork over in our follow-up email. Do we have any more questions here? All right, then let's move on to your retirement goals. So we understand that as life changes, your goals may change with it. So keep in mind, there will be many twists and turns on your path to retirement, but don't worry, we'll be there with you to recorrect your path along the way to reach your goal and your destination of retirement. So in your retirement goals, the first one is to max out Nick's 401k, which he actually did this past month. So congratulations, Nick, for doing that and taking one step in the direction of retirement. Your other retirement goals consist of opening Krista's SEP IRA, remember that deadline, the possibility of early retirement, and how this would interact with the preservation of your desired lifestyle. Are there any changes in these priorities? Great, then let's go over your retirement assumptions. So retirement is a goal that is really far away, and the goal itself is long-term. So right now we make assumptions, and like I said in the previous slide, we change those assumptions as your situation changes and as the markets change. So right now with your current lifestyle, Nick, you are projected to retire at 60, and Krista, you are projected to retire at 54. Your pre-retirement return will be 8%, and your retirement return will be 5%. The reason your retirement return is a little bit lower is because we actually allocate your capital in safer assets during retirement. Your annual living and goal expenses will be $330,000, and your contributions will be maxing out both of your qualified accounts, so $19,500 for Nick's 401k, $58,000 for Krista's SEP IRA, and any cash flow surplus will be contributed to the brokerage account. Now, I understand in our previous meeting, you had some curiosity as to why you needed so many different accounts and what were the benefits of having all of these accounts. So I wanted to go into detail about that topic today. So here we have a timeline of your retirement income sources. And the first three boxes are your retirement accounts, your brokerage account, your tax deferred accounts, which is Nick's 401k and Krista's SEP IRA, and then your tax-free accounts, which is Krista's Roth IRA. So whenever you start withdrawing during retirement, we really want to prioritize that tax-free growth as much as possible. So whenever you begin withdrawing, we start with your least tax efficient account. This is your brokerage account. The content in this account grows taxed, and then whenever you withdraw it, it is also taxed. Next, we move on to withdrawing from your tax deferred accounts where the contents grow tax-free, and then you withdraw it and pay taxes. And then finally, we have your most tax efficient account, Krista's Roth IRA, where it grows tax-free and you withdraw it tax-free. Are there any questions about these accounts? That's a good point, Nick. So technically, no, you are not allowed to open up a Roth IRA at your high income levels. However, in financial planning, we like to use this handy tool called backdoor Roths, where essentially we have the client open up a traditional IRA, they contribute money to it, and then we convert that traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. You pay taxes on the balance, and then from that point moving forward, all of that money grows tax-free and you can withdraw it tax-free. This is really handy because even if you weren't to use this account during retirement, you can pass it along to Emma and she can withdraw that money tax-free as well. So moving on to the final two sources of income during retirement, Social Security. Because you don't need Social Security at the beginning of your retirement, we would highly recommend you postponing withdrawing it until age 70. This is because from your full retirement age, you get a guaranteed 8% return each year until age 70 by postponing withdrawal. And like Valerie said about the markets, they're not predictable. Meanwhile, this 8% is guaranteed. So we would highly recommend waiting until age 70 to withdraw from Social Security. Are there any more questions about the timeline or the income sources for retirement? All right, then we'll move on to our final topic of retirement planning today, which will be the possibility of early retirement. So y'all are actually on track to retire early already. Most people retire around ages 65 to 67, but y'all are actually on track to retire with Nick at age 60 and Krista at age 55. So good job there. However, if y'all would like to retire a little bit earlier and reduce your lifestyle by about 15%, each year, this would actually increase your capital to about $3 million by 2041. And therefore, you would be able to retire 5 years earlier with Nick at age 55 and Krista at age 49. Now, I understand the possibility of reducing your lifestyle can be a difficult thing to contemplate. So how do y'all feel about maybe reducing your lifestyle in the future? I understand it is a very difficult decision to make, and that's why we're here to help you move through that decision. So in our next meeting, whenever we cover cash and debt management, we will be more than happy to go through budgeting with you to see where we can reduce certain expenses, how we can maximize that after-tax income in order for you to save money without feeling like you're stifled or that you can't live the lifestyle that you enjoy living now. Does that all make sense? All right. I think that about wraps up everything with this section. Do you have any questions about retirement planning or anything else we discussed today? Great.
We know that we covered a lot in this meeting, so we wanted to be sure to leave you with a simplified list of exactly what you need to do in order to be on track for meeting your goals. With your baby on board business, you're going to want to make sure to meet with the attorney we contact with you to begin that operating agreement, as well as purchasing business liability insurance. For the investment management, you're going to want to discuss between the two of you your comfortability with that new asset reallocation that we suggested, and Nick making sure to exercise those stock options as soon as they vest. With retirement planning, we're going to want to make sure to get Krista's SEP IRA opened by that October 15th deadline, as well as discussing the possible lifestyle reduction, which we can be present in the conversation as well in our next meeting. If you have any questions or aren't sure where to begin or who to reach out to in order to accomplish any of these tasks, please do not hesitate to give us a call. Remember, we're on your team and we're here to make this easy.
So we'll go ahead and provide an agenda for our next meeting. We're looking to cover another 3 overall topics. We'll discuss cash and debt management. So we'll get into the specifics of your cash flow and your statements. We'll also begin estate planning and establishing an updated will and medical directives due to the birth of your new baby, Emma. And then finally, we'll revisit the discussion of early retirement by going into the specifics of lifestyle adjustment. Oh my gosh, I hear baby Emma crying. We don't want to keep you waiting any longer. We're so glad you were able to join us with your busy schedule. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you so much, Valerie, Laura, and Ansley. We'll now give our judges a few minutes to gather their feedback.
All right, I will go ahead and kick things off. Congratulations.
Thank
Take
you.
a deep breath. Y'all are done. Well done, Texas Tech. You can breathe a little bit until tomorrow at least.
Yeah, barely.
So I thought you did a really great job on your presentation. Y'all did talk a little fast, and I think that was probably nerves and trying to get through all of the information in the 20 minutes. You got through it all, but there were times you were a little quick talking and slow down just a little bit. I liked the graphics that y'all had, especially the timeline in the beginning when you were talking about the LLC, that you had the timeline and the check marks along. I liked the little hourglass that was spinning, and I thought that was a really cool timeline. Bringing in the CPA and mentioning the insurance agent, that you have somebody on staff, but also if they have their own insurance agent, they're welcome to use that as well. I can't remember who said it, but the rainy day analogy, that when talking about insurance, Laura, great job on that, saying, you know, we're planning for a rainy day, but it doesn't rain every day. I thought that was a fantastic analogy when talking about insurance. I really liked that. And then when mentioning the lifestyle reduction, and we'll talk about that in our next meeting. You hit on it, that there needs to be some kind of lifestyle, or like, if you want to do this and retire earlier, there needs to be some kind of lifestyle reduction. But we're not going to cover it right now. We want you to think it over, ponder it, and we will cover this in our next meeting when we talk more about cash flow planning and debt management. Valerie, when you were talking investments, I thought you did a really good job. You got a little jargony when talking about asset allocation and I liked the periodic table investments. I love that chart. But it is a little jargony to clients sometimes, and you have to bring it back into everyday speak. But overall, I thought y'all did a fantastic job. Really well done, and you should be proud of yourselves. So I'll pass it over to Kim and let her chime in.
Thanks, Jenny. Those were great comments, by the way. So congratulations, good work today. You know, I have a lot of, just I kept saying, making notes, saying good, but I think the most, you were the most engaging group. Like I just really felt like I wanted to answer your questions when you were asking me. So the only way I can describe that is engaging. So good work there. I really appreciated that. The other thing I really engaging in creative, you added some things that I thought were very, you know, having the CPA come in, that's great. The baby crying at the end, I don't know who pinched the baby, but
I have not heard that.
I appreciated that you talked about the proactive protections. Admittedly, I don't know that much about influencers or bloggers, you know, but those were good. That was good advice for that industry, if we're calling it. So I thought that was great. I totally agree with Jenny that the periodic table of investments, it's good information, but you were going really quickly. And so it's easy to not understand that as a consumer. I think the biggest takeaway here is you all already know more than most consumers. Okay. I know you're new, so don't underestimate how much you know. Okay. Don't assume that the consumer understands what you're talking about. So if you feel like you're explaining too much, that's okay. Explain again. So please do that. And especially when it comes to investments, consumers think they know a lot, but you still are the professional here. So really enjoyed that. Like I said, the engaging questions, good job. And at the next meeting, they'll address the cash flow. So the action items with the checklist was simple, but actionable. So I appreciated that too. It was very good. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Awesome. Thanks, Kim. So I'll close this out. You probably realize this. You're the last group to go. So the fact that you brought the energy you brought, I certainly appreciate after watching now eight of these. I'll also call out something. I'm surprised, you know, Kim and Jenny, you didn't hit it. All female team, which is pretty cool. Second all female team we've seen today. And what you probably didn't know is it's actually National Business Women Day today. So very, very cool. And I just want to say, I said this to the group from Kansas State earlier, who all female team. We need more women in this industry. So I'm so happy you all are doing the things you're doing, and you should try to recruit all your friends to join too. All right. So anyway, energy was awesome. I understand the comments around speed. It was fast. I tend to talk a little fast, and so it matched my kind of personal style. So I really appreciated it. And more importantly, you seem to be having fun, and some of these topics are really hard. You know, you have to talk about things like, what if a client dies? You had to talk about, you know, today, you know, what if something happens with your business, if there's an issue that needs from a protection perspective. Some of that stuff's not fun to talk about. And if you're, as the advisor, is not upbeat and not energetic, it's really hard. And it's going to be really hard to form bonds. I felt connected to the three of you based on the energy you brought to this, the positivity you brought to this. That stuff you can't teach. So you all are going to do awesome in this industry. All right, couple things. Really, really bold to hit at the level of detail you went on the business. I thought that was, I really appreciated that. I'm with Kim. I hadn't really even thought about some of the protection issues around her influencer business, and now I'm thinking, oh my God, that's a whole like industry in and of itself. That protection of that type of work. It's really interesting stuff. Now I kind of want to know more. On the investments piece with Valerie, I think you did I like that. Everyone likes that chart. We call it a placemat. Jenny, I think, called it a periodic table. I think that does tell the story. I agree with the comments. You got to be really a little careful with the jargon and making sure that you don't talk over the client there. I think you handled the cryptocurrency thing really, really well, and a kind of a dicey topic. I think you used the word which I think was appropriate. You know, if you want to go over in the corner and gamble a little bit, go for it. I think that worked. It worked for me at least. And then on the company, on the two things around the companies. So you talked a little bit about Tesla, and you talked about the stock from the company, the options and restricted stock awards with the company. Only thing I would be careful of is there's a high probability that this client has emotional attachments to both of those companies, both to Tesla because of made them some money and wants to buy Tesla, whatever, and the fact that he works for a company. And before you just come in with the recommendation of like, you got to reduce those positions or you got to do something different, even if they're the right recommendations, you have to address the fact that there might be some attachment to that could get in the way of the client making the, what might be the right mathematical decision. So hitting that, asking questions around that, I'd always make sure you just kind of be careful around that. Ansley, around retirement, I thought the way you sort of brought up the email around a different retirement option, that's very real. That felt very much like something that would really happen, which is in the middle of the night, the client has a thought and sends it to you, and you addressed it right on. I thought that was really nice. The way you talked about, hey, you're going to see a bunch of different accounts here, and you might be wondering why. Let me share with you why. I thought that really resonated. And then I thought you did a really nice job of articulating what it would take to really retire early. And not making it seem like that's just an easy thing or it's out of reach, that there's a sacrifice you'd have to make, and they have to think about that and make that. Overall, I really, really enjoyed this. It was, like I said, the right energy, certainly the energy we needed at the end of the day. So congratulations. This was really fun, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow at the last phase.
Thank you so much.